as we all know, Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Hajj, so Iman, first of all, the kalima of Shahada, Salat, Saum, Hajj and Zakat. So Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Just as with Hajj you have the obligatory Hajj, the Fard Hajj, and then you also have that which is not Fard, which is the Umrah. You have with Salat, you've got the 5 daily prayers, which are obligatory. Every Muslim has got to pray 5 times a day. And then beside these 5 times a day prayers, there are also prayers throughout the day which are known as Nafil. Nafil and Nawafil, optional prayers. Same thing with the pilgrimage. Hajj, provided that the conditions are met, the conditions are found in a person, they have to go for Hajj. And beside Hajj, a person go for what is known as the lesser pilgrimage, a smaller mini type of Hajj, which is the Umrah. So Salat, you have the Fard and Nafil Salat, and pilgrimage to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also Fard and Nafil. Salat, you have 5 fixed times throughout the day. Nafil, you can pray any time except the 3 prohibited times a day. According to our madhab, the madhab of the Hanafiya, you are not allowed to pray 3 times a day. Those 3 times, to pray during those 3 times is considered makruh. For the Hajj, again, just as with the 5 daily prayers, you have fixed times in which you have to pray those 5 daily prayers. With Hajj, you have fixed days in which you have to perform the Hajj. And with the Nafil pilgrimage, which is the Umrah, you can perform Umrah at any day, on any day of the year except 5 days. 5 days of the year, only 5 days during the year to perform Umrah is makruh. That you're not allowed, you should not be performing Umrah during those days. And those days are the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th of the month of Dhul Hijjah. Dhul Hijjah being the month of Hajj. During those 5 days, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13th Dhul Hijjah, a person should not be performing Umrah. Okay, except those who have gone there for Hajj and Umrah. Umrah, according to Imam Ash-Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad, just change this to a laser. Yeah, that's better. According to Imam Ash-Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad rahimahumullah, Umrah is wajib. And according to Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik rahimahumullah, Umrah is sunnah. And it is the stronger opinion in our madhab, the madhab of the Hanafiya, is that an Umrah is sunnah mu'akkada. It's an emphasized sunnah. And some of the fuqaha, our imams, are of the view that Umrah is wajib or it is fard kifaya. But the stronger, as I've said, the stronger opinion in the madhab is that Umrah is a sunnah mu'akkada, form of ibadah. Now, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Umrah in the ayat وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, accomplish the Hajj and Umrah for Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another ayat, which I've recited at the beginning, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ أَوْ اعْتَمَرَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ أَنْ يَطَّوَّفَ بِهِمَا وَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ شَاكِرٌ عَلِيمٌ. The translation of which is, indeed Safa and Marwa are among the symbols of Allah. So whoever comes to the house for Hajj or performs Umrah, there is no sin for him if he circumambulates, does tawaf of them. Whoever performs an act of good of his own accord, then Allah is appreciative, all-knowing. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is saying that Safa and Marwa are from amongst the symbols of Allah, the emblems of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. whoever comes for Hajj, فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ أَوْ اِعْتَمَرَ, or comes for Umrah, comes to the house of Allah Ta'ala to do Umrah, then فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ أَن يَطَّوَّفَ بِهِمَا, then there's no sin if he does tawaf. يَطَّوَّفَ tawaf. Tawaf meaning in this context to run, to go from Mount Safa to Mount Marwa. To do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if he does that, circumambulates, it's a big English word meaning tawaf, then there is no sin in it. There's no sin, there's no guna. The background to this very briefly is that, as we all know, prior to Islam, before Islam came, the Jahili people, the pre-Islamic people used to also perform Hajj. They used to perform Hajj and they also used to perform Umrah before Islam. So when Islam came, some Muslims were thinking that the sa'i between Safa and Marwa is something that the kuffar, the mushrikun before Islam, before the arrival of Islam, used to do between these two mounts. So they thought that maybe this will be something from the era of Jahiliyyah. It belongs to kufr. Maybe there's something that we should not be doing. Because after Islam did away with all the practices and traditions of the polytheists, the mushrikun prior to Islam. So they thought that people used to do this. They used to run from Mount Safa to Mount Marwa, Marwa to Safa. They used to do this 7 times before Islam. When Islam has arrived, then perhaps this is wrong, we should not be doing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clarifies this in this ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah by saying that whoever does that between Mount Safa and Marwa, does the sa'i of Mount Safa and Marwa, then فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ, then there's no sin, there's nothing wrong in doing that. As we shall see inshallah, you have to, as part of your Umrah, you will have to do sa'i between Mount Safa and Marwa. It will be one of the 2 wajib elements of your Umrah. There are many hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding Umrah, the virtues of Umrah. And I shall mention to you a few very briefly. A hadith that has been reported by Imam Ahmad and Imam Tabarani rahimahumullah states that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Afdalul a'mali hajjatun mabrura aw umratun mabrura." That the best of deeds, the best of a'mal is a Hajj mabrur or an Umrah mabrur. A mabrur Umrah or a mabrur Hajj, which generally this is translated, Hajjatun mabrura is translated as a Hajj of righteousness, Neki ka Hajj, a Hajj of righteousness, a Hajj of piety. And the ulama have given various interpretations for this. In other words, or some people say Maqbul Hajj, a Hajj and then Umrah that is accepted by Allah Ta'ala. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has accepted it. So the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that the best of deeds, the best of a'mal is a Hajjatun Mabrura, a Hajj that has piety, righteousness in it. A Hajj which does not contain anything that goes against Hajj, that displeases Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, a pure Hajj. A Hajj that is accepted, and likewise an Umrah that is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an Umrah of righteousness. These are the best of deeds, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. In another hadith he said, Al-Umratu ila al-Umrati kafaratun lima baynahuma wal hajjul mabrur laysa lahu jazaa'un illa al-Jannah. This is a very well-known hadith reported by Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim rahimahumullah, that an Umrah to another Umrah, from one Umrah to another Umrah, is kafara, expiation of that which happened between. So if a person performs one Umrah and then he or she goes for another Umrah, then whatever guna, sins that person may have committed, all those guna, those sins are forgiven by virtue of the second Umrah. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Wal hajjul mabrur," again mabrur, a mabrur Hajj. A Hajj that is free of any wrongdoing, a Hajj that is done purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the proper manner and which is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, laysa lahu jazaa'un illa al-Jannah. Its reward is nothing except paradise. The Prophet ﷺ said that Hajj, the reward of that Hajj is Jannah and nothing else. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq of going for Hajj. Those who have not been for Hajj, may Allah give us the tawfiq of going, and those who have been for Hajj, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq of going again and again. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith reported by Imam al-Nasai, Jihadul kabiri wal dha'ifi wal mar'ati al-hajj wal umrah. The jihad of the elderly people, the jihad of the old and of the weak and women is Hajj and Umrah. So these three categories of people, elderly people, old people, weak people and women, if they go for Hajj and Umrah, then that is jihad for them. Tabi'u bayna al-Hajj wal-Umrah. The Prophet ﷺ said in this hadith of Imam al-Tirmidhi and Imam al-Nasai, Tabi'u bayna al-Hajj wal-Umrah. Mutaba'at. Follow up between your Hajj and your Umrah. Follow up with your Hajj and your Umrah, between your Hajj and your Umrah. فَإِنَّهُمَا يَنْفِيَانِ الْفَقْرَ وَالذُّنُوبِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, for they both, Hajj and Umrah, performed in this way, mutaba'at, one after the other, they negate poverty and sin, guna. If a person follows up, he does in succession, performs Hajj and Umrah in succession, then that performance of Hajj and Umrah in this manner negate poverty, faqr, and sin. كما ينفي الكير خبث الحديد والذهب والفضة. Just as the furnace rids or frees the metal from any alien material that is on it, and the gold and the silver from anything that is not part of the pure gold and silver or the metal. Just as the furnace, you know what a furnace is? Like the blacksmith uses a furnace, they put the metal in, melt the metal in the olden days. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying that if a person does Hajj and Umrah in this manner, they do Hajj and Umrah consecutively, one after the other, then two things, such a performance of Hajj and Umrah will save them from faqr, from poverty, from destitution, becoming poor, and also it will save them from sin. In other words, their sins will be forgiven. And the Prophet ﷺ gives us a analogy or similitude here by saying that just as a furnace cleanses metal and cleanses gold and silver from anything that is unwanted on there, any material, any substance that is unwanted on there. So some of the ulama they've given various interpretations for this first expression of the Prophet ﷺ, Tabi'u bayna al-Hajj wal-Umrah. What does this mean? So some have said it means that if a person for that person who has been for Umrah and not for Hajj, then that person should try, after performing Umrah, they should go for Hajj. And for that person who's been for Hajj but not for Umrah, then he or she should follow that performance of Hajj with an Umrah. Afterwards go for Umrah. And this is tested also. Many people have tested this. I know people who were in debt, who were in a poor financial condition, and they went for Hajj. Despite their difficulties, they went for Hajj, and then after they came back from Hajj, the difficulties were alleviated. The financial difficulties were alleviated. And another hadith states of Ibn Majah, Al-Hajj wal-Ummaru wafdullah. In da'awhu ajabahum wa in istaghfaruhu ghafara lahum. That the Hajj, the one who is going for Hajj, the Hujjaj, the Hajjis and the Ummar, those who are going for Umrah. The Hajjis and those who are doing Umrah are wafdullah, they are the delegation of Allah. Just as a government sends a delegation, official delegation to another government, to another country for a specific purpose. Those who are going for Hajj, the groups of Hujjaj, Hajjis and the groups of the Ummar, those who are doing Umrah, they are the delegation of Allah. In da'awhu ajabahum. If they do dua to him, if they call upon him, they do dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah responds. وَإِنِ اسْتَغْفَرُوهُ, and if they seek His forgiveness, غَفَرَ لَهُمْ, He forgives them. So when you are there for your Umrah, you should be trying to do as much dua as possible, and you should be seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness as much as possible. Inshallah, this is something I hope to touch upon, inshallah, later on. And lastly, there's another hadith regarding performing Umrah during Ramadan. A female Sahabiya, Saleem radiallahu anha, came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and she complained. She said that فَقَالَتْ حَجَّ أَبُو طَلْحَةَ وَابْنُهُ وَتَرَكَانِي. She was complaining about her husband Abu Talha radiallahu anhu. She said that Abu Talha and his son have gone for Hajj and they've left me. They did not take me for Hajj. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Ya Saleem, O Saleem, Umratun fi Ramadan ta'adilu hajjatan ma'i. The performance of an Umrah during Ramadan is equal to performing Hajj with me. In other words, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was encouraging her to go for Umrah during Ramadan. So if you go for Umrah during Ramadan, then it will be, the reward of it will be the same reward of performing Hajj with me, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying. And this is why you will see those who have been for Umrah during Ramadan, you will see that it is very, very busy. Makkah Mukarramah is completely packed with people. The congestion there, in terms of the people, traffic, etc., is more or less the same as during the Hajj days, during Ramadan, because of this reward. People want to go and do Umrah during Ramadan so that they get this very huge reward of performing Hajj with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if possible, we should try and do this. This I've mentioned to you the significance. So according to the madhab of the Hanafiya, which I follow, and I think most of you here will follow, the legal school of the Hanafis, Umrah is a sunnah mu'akkada. It's a emphasized sunnah. Now the first thing, most important thing, is our intention. As with any good deed, we should always check our intention. Why am I doing this? We should always check our intention and niyyah. What is my intention? What is my motive? Why am I going for Umrah? We should always, with every good deed, we should always make sure that whatever good deed that I am doing for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By going for Umrah, I want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I want to earn the huge reward, the thawab which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised us through His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we should not be seeing this as a holiday. We should not be seeing the Umrah or treating it as a holiday, that this is a vacation, it's a holiday, I'm taking a break from work, I'm taking a break from my family, I'm going away for 2 weeks, going away for a month or so. No, we should always see it as one of the most magnificent forms of ibadat. Umrah is one of the most magnificent forms of ibadat. That's what we should see it as, we should believe it as. And we should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for enabling me, giving me the tawfiq of going for Umrah. Out of all the Muslims in the community, out of all the Muslims in the town, out of all the Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has handpicked me, has cherry-picked me to go for Umrah to His house. And after the Umrah, inshallah, you shall also be going and visiting the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in Medina Munawwara. So we should express our gratitude with our words. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, start thanking Him from now, and also with your actions. And how does a person express and show their gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through their action? It is by appreciating the opportunity. When you go there, make sure you do not waste any time. Most people generally they go for Umrah for 2 weeks. Most people go for 2 weeks. This is how packages are generally designed. If people go for during Ramadan, then many people go for the full month. There are many who go for the full month. There are many who go for 2 weeks or 10 days or thereabouts. So make sure you waste no time at all, because this is very precious time. What do you need to take with you? Those who have been before will have experience. Those who have not been before may not know what to take with them. All right. Very briefly, I'm going to try and whiz through all of this. These are some of the essential things which a person may want to take with them. For example, a travel belt. Men, in the case of men, this will come in handy, because when you are in your state of ihram, then you will not have a pocket. You will not be wearing your normal clothing, so there will be no pockets. So if you have this travel belt here, which these are readily available in shops and markets, then you can keep your documents, you can keep your money in the pouch. That is allowed. You are allowed to wear this for men in your state of ihram. Vaseline, these safety pins for ihram, if you want, depending on what type of ihram you will be using. Most men will need these safety pins for the ihram. Sandals, which inshallah I will explain shortly. Men will need to have special sandals, and then this cream, if you want to take with you in order to prevent rashes on your thighs. And ihram towels for men. Men will have to, I will explain this when we get to the ihram point. Men will have to have 2 sheets of ihram. Men's ihram and women's ihram are different. Inshallah, I will explain shortly. In terms of the footgear for men, so for men, their ihram is specific. Men will have to wear 2 sheets of cloth. And generally, when you go to the shops, you get. So if you get one of these towel type sheets, a pair of these tend to be very comfortable. The towel type, although they may seem to you to be very thick, and where you're going in Makkah Mukarramah, the temperature nowadays will probably be 35, 37, 38, maybe even 40 degrees Celsius, I'm not sure, but 35 is the average. Although it's not summer now, but the temperature during the daytime will be around 35 degrees Celsius, which is by our standards, UK standards, that is very, very hot. Even though it's very hot there, these towel type ihram sheets tend to keep you very cool. Okay, so white sheets, white is preferable. It does not have to be white, but white is desirable. It is mustahab for men to have white, not for women, but for men, white ihram is best. Just get these two sheets of ihram sheets, which generally are called ihram. With regard to your footgear, again I'm talking about men only. Women, in terms of the attire, the libas for the ihram, they don't have any prohibition. There's just one prohibition, which is on the face. They can wear anything, footgear, clothing, anything. For men, the Sharia is very strict. Men have to be wearing the 2 sheets of ihram cloths, and also their footgear has got to be. The sandals have got to be such that the central bone on your foot, if I can just show you my foot, the central bone on your foot, this bone that is protruding here, that bone has got to be left uncovered. Whatever you wear on your foot, sandals, make sure that that bone is uncovered, it remains exposed. Which means generally flip-flop type sandals are the best. And in these types of sandals you can get fairly comfortable ones if you spend a bit of money. Then in sports shops and other places, shops, you can get good ones. This one here will not be allowed. Nor this. And this will be allowed depending on up to where this reaches, but judging by this picture, I think this should be okay. These 2 should be okay, but the problem with this is that you will not be able to walk out on the streets with this, because it will hurt you in your feet will hurt if you go out wearing these types. But generally, flip-flop type sandals with the V-shaped belt are the ones that you're safe with in terms of your ihram. Other useful items which you may want to take with you are sleeping mask, which you will not be allowed to use when you're sleeping, when you're in a state of ihram. Tasbih, umbrella, earplugs, drawstring bag. You must make sure you take these. These bags you will need every time you enter Al-Masjid al-Haram or the Masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You will have to put your shoes in there, and then you'll have to put this on your back and take it with you wherever you go. If you leave your shoes, your sandals in the shoe racks, then the chances are that you will not find them again. Someone would have either taken them or they would have just been swept away. So always, whenever you go into the masjid, make sure you take your shoes with you inside. So make sure you get these bags. If someone wants to take a small MP3 player to listen to the Quran or lectures, etc., then you can take an MP3 player, phone and the portable charger, face masks, but again, in a state of ihram, you'll not be allowed to use your face mask. Food and snacks, this is more relevant to Hajj. When a person goes for Hajj, I always recommend that you take some dry snacks with you, because you can be stuck at the airports for a very long time. If you want to take some snacks with you, just in case they can come in handy at some point of your journey, then you can take some snacks with you. In terms of communication, make sure you take mobile phones with you. Mobile phones are very essential nowadays, so that mobile phones can make communication much easier while you are in Makkah and Medina, especially when you're traveling with other people, relatives, family members, and so on. There are some requirements for mobile phones. I'm not sure whether this is still the case. Your mobile phone, first of all, has got to be an unlocked phone, unlocked GSM handset. It has got to be multi-band, tri-band or quad-band. That includes the 900 MHz band. Currently, this is the only frequency working in Saudi Arabia. So I think generally with the mobile phones that we use in this country, they tend to work over there, provided they are unlocked. Make sure your handset is unlocked here. Otherwise, Saudi SIMs will not work on your phone. When you get there, make sure you buy a Saudi SIM, and these are some networks in Saudi Arabia: Mobile, Zain, Sawa, and so on. And never buy anything from the airport workers. As soon as you land in Jeddah airport, you will see that the sweepers, Asian brothers who work at the airport, will come up to you, they say salam to you, and they'll offer you mobile phone SIMs. Try not to buy from them. Rather buy your SIM from either from a seller, from a proper shop, pharmacies, etc., money exchanges, and other various shops sell mobile SIMs. Okay, so just find out where they are. They're available everywhere. Make sure you buy them from a shop. Nowadays, I'm told that you need to produce ID and you need to be registered in order to buy a phone SIM because of security reasons. Even for a pay-as-you-go or temporary mobile SIM, you have to show your paperwork in Saudi Arabia. And they will give you an ID. Make sure you keep that ID with you, because that whenever you want to top up your mobile phone, then you will need to produce your ID again. Depending on where you're staying, your hotel may have Wi-Fi internet. If you have Wi-Fi in your hotel, then that will also come in handy. You can make calls via the internet home if you need to. Another thing for sisters is that when you get to Medina Munawwara, they are very strict over there. In terms of the organization of Al-Masjid al-Haram and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's Masjid, they are very different. In Makkah Mukarramah, it's all very hustle and bustle. It's very busy. There's no segregation, nothing. They appear to be less organized due to the nature of the place. It's very open, but when you go to Medina Munawwara, then you see that there's less noise, less congestion, very peace, tranquil, calm, sukoon, pur sukoon, and you will see that also the masjid is very, very organized compared with Al-Masjid al-Haram. And also you will see in both masajid, at the women's entrance in both Makkah Mukarram and Medina Munawwara, there will be female guards at the doors, and they will check your baggage, etc., for sisters especially. And sisters, I'm not sure whether this is still the case or not. Sisters with a phone that has a camera on it will not be allowed to go inside. They will stop you at the door if they check and find that your phone has a camera on it. I'm not sure whether this is still the case or not, because nowadays to find a phone without a camera is almost impossible. Alright, so preparation now. First of all, sincerity. Make sure you go with the right intention, that you are going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and earn the huge reward of Umrah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised through His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Make sure you do tawbah, you repent from all the past sins, because you're going for one of the greatest forms of ibadat. Make sure you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. Make sure you do tawbah according to its prescribed set conditions, that you're remorseful, you're genuinely remorseful, and you cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you also make a firm conviction resolution after seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, never to commit those sins again. If you have committed a wrong against any of the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you must seek forgiveness from them in person. So make sure you seek forgiveness from all the people. Nowadays there's a trend of sending out a message to all your phone contacts. I'm going for Umrah in the morning, please forgive me and I will do dua for you. Alright, I don't think many people take such messages seriously. When I see those messages, I delete it straight away. If you think you may have wronged someone, you've done something wrong to a person, either personally or financially, you may have wronged a person in whatever way, psychologically, make sure you contact that person either face to face or phone them and speak to them and genuinely, sincerely seek their forgiveness. Don't just send out a text message or WhatsApp message, a mass distribution to all your contacts saying, I'm going for Umrah in 2 hours time, everyone forgive me, I forgive you, off I go. No, that doesn't work like that. So please try and, as part of your repentance, your tawbah, make sure if you wrong someone, then you genuinely, properly seek forgiveness from them. If you have any outstanding differences with people, you seek forgiveness financially. Financially, if you have any debts, it is best, especially if you're going for Hajj, then you must make sure that you have settled your debts. If you have any qarza from people, qaraz, make sure you paid them off, or you have made an arrangement with them that they know you're going for Hajj and they're okay for you going for Hajj without paying them their debt. Otherwise you should not be going for Hajj, because it is more important for you to pay off your debt than to go for Hajj, because Hajj is not farz on you. In Umrah, same thing. If you owe people money, you should not be going for Umrah. If you are going for Umrah, then make sure you speak to the individual whom you owe the money. Make sure you speak to them and they're okay with you going for Umrah. Okay. If you have any outstanding zakat, then make sure you paid off your outstanding zakat. Do a calculation and then pay off your outstanding zakat. And also, needless to say, make sure you're going for your Umrah with halal money. Okay, don't go for Hajj or for Umrah with haram income. Make sure your income with which you are going is halal. Okay, if you've already booked your Umrah and you're not sure about whether your income is halal or haram, come and speak to me separately, and inshallah we can find a way out. There are ways out of it. If you think your income may be haram or you're not sure, then come and speak to me, inshallah, and we can try to find a way out of that, inshallah, if you've already booked your Umrah. And also, make sure you're going in the company of good people. Usually people tend to go for Umrah, they tend to go in a group, or maybe at least the group of your family. If you're going in a group, you're going with your travel agency, Umrah tour operator has organized a group Umrah, then as far as possible, you should try to go in good company. Because if you go in good company, righteous people, neck people, then you will be influenced by them. They will have an effect on you. They will rub off the righteousness, the piety, neki will rub off onto you. Likewise, if you go in the company of bad people, people who are going there just to mess around, people who are going there seeing it as just a holiday, then that will have an effect on you. Okay, so make sure as far as possible within your means you should try to be in the company of good people, and this is emphasized in the Quran, and it is very much emphasized by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mathalul jalisi salihi wa su'ika kamathalil kahamilil miski wa nafikhil kir. There's a famous hadith well known of Bukhari where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us the similitude, the likeness of a good companion, a good friend, and a bad friend. That a good friend is like a person who is carrying musk, perfume, and a bad person is like the person who is blowing like a blacksmith. So if you're فَحَامِلُ الْمِسْكِ إِمَّا أَن يُعْطِيَكَ وَإِمَّا أَن تَجِدَ مِنْهُ رِيحًا طَيِّبًا. That the حَامِلُ الْمِسْكِ, the musk carrier, the one who is carrying perfume, will either give you some of his perfume, or if he does not give you some of his perfume, then at least you, by being near him, you will get the fragrance of the perfume for free. وَنَافِخُ الْكِيرِ إِمَّا يُحْرِقَ ثِيَابَكَ وَإِمَّا تَجِدَ مِنْهُ رِيحًا خَبِيثًا أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. And the bad companion, who is like the blacksmith, working with metal and fire in the furnace, he will either burn your clothes, set you on fire because of you being near him, or if not, then at least you will get a very uncomfortable, unpleasant smell from being near him. That's how the Prophet ﷺ has explained this to us in the Hadith of Bukhari. So as far as possible, try to be in good company on this very special journey of your life. Before you go, try to learn as much as possible about your Umrah, the significance, the virtues, the laws and the method of Umrah. And this is, your being here today is part of this, to learn about your Umrah, how to perform your Umrah. Memorize as many du'as from the Quran and Sunnah as possible. Make a list of all those people who have requested you to do du'a for them. Try and make a list. That is good if you can make a list of people. And also people have specific needs that they want you to do du'a for about. Then try and make a note of that. And then once you're there in Makkah Mukarramah, during your Umrah, before your Umrah, after your Umrah, and also in Medina Munawwara, try and do du'a for them by mentioning their names. And also another thing that is very important is that you should know how to pray during your flight. When you're traveling, these situations, the circumstances in which you may find yourself. How do I pray? At what time must I pray, and so on. You need to know the fiqh of traveling prayer during traveling, and also how to pray Salatul Janazah. That is very important, because when you're there in Makkah Mukarramah and also in Medina Munawwara, every day there will be a Janazah Salah. During the Hajj season, after every single Salah there is Janazah of people. During the Hajj season, after every single Salah during the day and the night, there is Janazah. Now you're going at a quiet season for Umrah, even then you are bound to find that after the obligatory congregational prayer, there will be Janazah Salat. So men and women, both brothers and sisters, must learn the method of Janazah Salah and how to pray Janazah Salah and what to read in your Janazah Salah. So, and those physical and mental preparation, and make sure you have a lot of patience. Your Umrah comprises just 4 things. Umrah is made up of 4 a'mal, 4 rites or rituals, 4 elements. 2 of those things are fard and 2 of those things are wajib. Umrah is very, very simple. Inshallah, you should not have any problems with your Umrah. You have to do 4 things in your Umrah. Those 4 things make up your Umrah. That's it. Unlike Hajj, Hajj is quite complicated. Hajj happens over 5 days. There are times, there are restrictions, do's and don'ts throughout Hajj. This is why when we hold our Hajj lesson here, then I spread it out over 6 lessons. 6 days, we have 6 lessons. We go through all the 5 days and the things you need to do before and the things you need to do after your Hajj. But Umrah is very simple. That's why I tried to cram it all in one lesson between Asr and Maghrib today. 2 things are fard. The 2 fard things are ihram and tawaf. To be in a state of ihram and to do tawaf of the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 7 times. The 2 wajib elements are to do sa'i between Safa and Marwa. Mount Safa, Mount Marwa. To do that 7 times. Inshallah, I shall explain all of this in a bit. And the 4th thing, or the second wajib and the 4th out of all 4 things, is to do halq or qasr. Halq means shaving of the head for men, or to the qasr, taqsir. Qasr means to shorten your hair for men and for women. This will be explained later, inshallah. In a state of ihram, you need to be in a state of ihram when you are entering that zone known as the miqat. Okay? You've got an image here, and then in the next one, inshallah, in the next slide, you will see it in more detail. A person who intends to travel into the haram area for whatever reason, the haram area, not al-Masjid al-Haram. You've got al-Masjid al-Haram, and then if you look at on a satellite image, then there's a boundary in Makkah Mukarramah which is known as the Haram. Okay, that haram, the word haram means sanctified or sacred, muqaddas, sacred. It's the sacred zone. You are not, and a person is not allowed, normally is not allowed to enter that sacred zone, that very sacred special zone, without being in a state of ihram. And once a person enters the state of ihram, they cannot exit the state of ihram without having performed an umrah. So a person who intends to travel into the haram area for whatever reason must enter into ihram before the miqat boundary. So if you got the haram zone area in Makkah Mukarramah, and then beyond that zone you have a much wider zone which is known as the miqat. A person must be in a state of ihram when they are entering the miqat area, miqat boundary. Either be that on land or be it in the air, on the plane. You have to be in your ihram with the intention of ihram as you enter the miqat area. A person who is traveling to Makkah Mukarramah, normally via Jeddah, you go to Jeddah where the main airport is, and then from Jeddah you will take a taxi, you will take a vehicle, and then from there you will go to Makkah Mukarramah, which should take you about 40, 50 or 60 minutes depending on the traffic situation there. You must enter into your ihram before you enter Jeddah. So don't think that you'll get to Jeddah and then you'll enter your ihram, and from Jeddah you'll then go to Makkah Mukarramah. Because if you try to do that, then you would have already, whilst you were on the plane, you would have already gone into the miqat zone in the air. So you have violated the sanctity of the miqat. Those who are traveling to Medina first need not enter ihram. Okay. I think in the case of all of you, everyone here going to Jeddah first? Yes? Or you don't know? Right. I think most people will be for Umrah. Most people will go to Jeddah. Their flight will land in Jeddah, and then from Jeddah they will travel to Makkah Mukarramah. It's like from Northampton to Leicester. This is the distance more or less. This is how far it is from Jeddah, which is one of the main cities of the country, to Makkah Mukarramah. If a person enters the miqat zone without ihram, then if that person gets out of the miqat zone and then puts on ihram, enters ihram and then comes into the miqat, then that's fine. There's no penalty for it. But if a person does not do that, they go to Jeddah, and then in Jeddah they don the ihram, they enter the state of ihram from Jeddah, then they've already entered miqat whilst they were in the air. So they have violated the sanctity of the miqat zone, for which there's a penalty. They will have to give what is known as a dam. They will have to sacrifice an animal as a penalty for that wrong that they've committed. But if that person can get out again by road and then come back in again in a state of ihram, then there's no dam on them. Those who are traveling from Medina to Makkah will enter into ihram at miqat of Dhul Hulayfa. This is just outside Medina. This is more relevant during Hajj. During Hajj, many people go to Makkah first, and many people go to Medina first. So those who go to Medina first don't need ihram. But when they're coming from Medina to Makkah Mukarramah, they have to enter the ihram. And normally this is where they do. There's a masjid in Dhul Hulayfa where all the vehicles, coaches stop. And it's a huge masjid with very excellent facilities for changing rooms, showers, everything for men and women. You can stay. People enter the state of ihram, they pray the ihram prayer, 2 rakat, and then they travel from there to Makkah Mukarramah. It's more relevant during the Hajj season than now. This image is showing you the miqat zone. We'll skip all of this because you will inshallah have no problems with your ihram, entering ihram. That's another image here, map showing you the boundary. So that green line, you can see there, all of that is showing you the city of Makkah Mukarramah, and that's the direction to Medina. Jeddah is this way, and these are some of the key places where you have to go during your Hajj, inshallah, when you one day do go for Hajj. Alright, so now on to ihram. Before you enter your ihram, again I repeat, for Umrah you need to do just 4 things. 2 things are fard and 2 of those things are wajib. The 2 fard elements are ihram. First of all, you need to enter your state of ihram. The second fard element is to do tawaf of the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to go around the house 7 times. The first wajib out of the 2 things is to do sa'i between Safa and Marwa. Sa'i from Safa, Mount Safa to Marwa 1. Marwa to Safa 2, and then 7. You have to do it 7 times. And the fourth thing, which is also wajib, is to either shave your head in the case of men. Women are not allowed to shave their head, or to shorten your hair. I'll give you the details inshallah later on. Now let's deal with the first thing out of the 4 things that you have to do for your Umrah, which is ihram. Now, as part of your preparation for your ihram, you should do all those things that will become unlawful, haram, after you've entered your state of ihram. So do all those things now. For example, husband and wife intimacy, clipping of your nails, removing of your hair below the navels, armpits, or cutting of your hair on your head, trimming your mustache if you need to. Do all of these things now before you enter your state of ihram. To do these things now is mustahab. It is preferable, rewardable before you enter your state of ihram. Take a bath or a shower or perform wudu. It is desirable to have a shower or a bath before you enter your state of ihram. If it is not possible for whatever reason, then a wudu will suffice. A wudu is sufficient. But try to take a shower for your ihram. And then you put on your ihram clothes, and or keep your ihram clothes sheets in your hand luggage. If you are going to be entering your ihram, for men I'm saying, if you are going to be entering your ihram and you're going to be wearing your 2 sheets of ihram towels later on, either on the flight, for example Saudi Airlines will have the facility on board normally on the plane, or if you have a transit, you're stopping over on the way at another airport, and you know from the itinerary of your flight schedule, you know that there will be enough time on the way when the plane stops. For example, in Jordan or wherever, or Istanbul, you will have time to change your clothes and enter your state of ihram. Then make sure your 2 sheets of ihram towels are kept in your hand luggage, and they're not put in your suitcase, and they're not put onto that conveyor belt and gone into the whole luggage section of the aeroplane. Then if you do that, then you will not have your ihram with you when you need it. So make sure your ihram clothing, your sheets are in your hand luggage with you on board the plane. And don't forget also your footgear. For men, make sure you have your proper ihram footgear with you at all times. Men can apply itar, perfume, onto their body and onto the ihram sheets before ihram. Before ihram, you can bathe your ihram sheets in perfume before you've entered your state of ihram. You can also put perfume on your body, men, before you enter your state of ihram. As soon as you've entered your state of ihram, by putting the sheets on, by praying the 2 rakat of ihram salat, by saying the talbiyah labbaik Allahumma labbaik, and making the intention in your head as you say that, and verbally expressing that intention, you've entered your state of ihram. From then on, perfume etc. will be completely haram. You will not be allowed to use any perfume. So whatever perfume you apply to your body, whatever perfume you apply to your clothing before you've entered your state of ihram is fine. And then now you've put on your ihram sheets, men, 2 sheets like this. I was going to show you how to do this. There's no time, and I think we will have to come back after Maghrib to finish this, unfortunately. So the 1 sheet you will be wearing as a lungi, men. Okay, you need to practice this at home and not leave it till the last minute, otherwise you will really struggle. If you're not used to wearing a sheet like this, it's open-ended, both ends. You need to wrap it around your waist, and then you can use a leather belt in order to secure it. And with the other sheet, this one, you're going to be wearing it like a cloak, like a chadar. And you need to keep your body covered with it at all times, except when you're going to be doing your tawaf, which inshallah I shall be explaining later. I'll explain that later.
There's some
there are tubular ihram sheets that are out. They're not available in every shop. Those are also allowed. If you can find them, that new ihram sheets are now out in the shops, which have been they've been weaved in such a way that they're just one piece and the tubular, they're like a tube. In other words, this end meets the other end, and there's no split. Okay, it's like a tube. If you can find those, they're also fine. Okay, they've been very cleverly made in that way. Otherwise, generally you'll find these sheets. With these sheets, then you will have to practice before you set off on your journey, so that you don't struggle when you're over there. You put on your ihram sheets. For women, inshallah I will come on to this later, there's no prohibition in terms of the clothing or the footgear. The only prohibition for women, ihramul mar'ati, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ihramul mar'ati fi wajhiha. The ihram of a woman is in her face. A woman in a state of ihram is not allowed to cover her face. If a woman wears the niqab, the face veil, then that is allowed as long as the condition is that the face veil, the niqab, must not come into contact with the skin of the face. Our mothers, the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they say in the hadith that when we went for Hajj with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Aisha radiallahu anha says, when we went for Hajj with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we used to keep our face uncovered on the journey. When we saw any men approaching, we used to put the face veil down. We used to put the niqab down. In order to do that, to use your face veil, was not violating the prohibition of your ihram, because the ihram of the woman is in her face. So to use a face veil and to also ensure that the face veil, the cloth does not touch your face, you need to use something like a cap. I will show you some images inshallah. They're available in Islamic shops. It's like a cap that a woman can wear on her head, and then the face veil will be hanging over that canopy, like a cap in front of on her forehead. So that, and also if the wind is blowing or there are fans everywhere over there when you go into the masjid, or it's windy, then she will have to hold on to it with her hand to make sure that the niqab does not blow onto the face. It does not touch the skin of the face. Apart from that prohibition, in the case of women, in the ihram they can wear anything. It can be colorful, it can be whatever they wear at home, no problem at all. For men, it's ihram restrictions in terms of their clothing attire are quite strict. You will then perform 2 rakat of sunnah ihram salah. 2 rakat of sunnah ihram salah. You will make the intention of 2 rakat of ihram salah, and in the first rakat, it is desirable, preferable that after Surah Al-Fatiha you recite Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun. In the second rakat, after Surah Al-Fatiha, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. And also another thing to make sure is that in the case of men, that you, as soon as you finish your salat, 2 rakat of ihram salat, you take your topi off. If you have your head covered with the topi, make sure your topi, your cap is taken off. If you think you may forget, I say to brothers that if you think that you may forget, then don't wear it at all. Okay? Just on this occasion. If you think that you may forget, if you're confident you will not forget, then wear your topi as you normally do. Pray your 2 rakat of ihram salat. Make the intention that, oh Allah, I'm praying 2 rakat of ihram salat. Allahu Akbar. Pray your 2 rakat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The first thing you should do is take your topi off, because your head must not be covered in your state of ihram, because you are now about to enter your state of ihram. If you are going to be making your intention of ihram, if you are going to be making your intention of ihram, entering your state of ihram on the plane, then normally flights will tell you, the captain or the crew will announce on the sound system, on the tannoy system, that we are about to enter the miqat zone. But don't rely on that, because depending on which airlines you're using, they may forget or they may not be bothered about it. So what you should do, you should make sure that about 40 to 50 minutes before you reach Jeddah, you enter your ihram. Meaning you make the intention of your ihram. You can have your ihram sheets on, ihram clothing on, but until you make the intention in your mind, until you say, oh Allah, I am now entering my ihram for Umrah, you're not a muhrim, you're not in your ihram, even though you may have been wearing this all the way from your home. But until you make that intention, that niyyah, you're not in a state of ihram. So a person, technically, there are various scenarios. A person can wear this and perform the 2 rakat of ihram salat at home or at Heathrow Airport, and then they can board the plane without making the intention, and then on the plane 40 to 60 minutes before reaching Jeddah they can make the intention. That is fine if they want to do that. A person can do all of it at home and then set off if they wanted to, but there's a risk that should you not fly that day, then you have to now stay in your state of ihram with all the prohibitions of ihram. A person can go to the airport and then pray the 2 rakat of ihram and make the intention there. That is also allowed. So, and likewise, a person can make the intention of ihram when they stop on the way. If they have a transit on the way, they stop at some other country before they reach Saudi Arabia, then they can do it there. That is more, that is advisable that you do that, or you do it on the plane.
I had a question just regarding the salah. Did you say it was sunnah, or was it?
Sunnah. Yes, the ihram salat is sunnah. It's not wajib, it is sunnah to pray those 2 rakat of salat. So men's ihram comprises 2 normally white sheets. They don't have to be white, but it is mustahab for them to be white for men. You use 1 sheet around the waist to cover the lower body like you do with the lungi, Asian brothers, and it must cover the navel but not hang below the ankles, because men at all times, men are not allowed to wear their clothing below their ankles. The ankles must be left exposed at all times, not just during salat but at all times, for men always. With the other sheet, cover the upper part of the body like a chador, like we do, completely cover your whole body, but leave the head and face uncovered, and cover the right arm and shoulder too. It is unlawful for men to wear any clothing other than the 2 sheets. You cannot wear anything else. Gloves, topiaries, socks, all of these things for men are prohibited. You are not allowed to wear these. Women are allowed to wear gloves. Women are allowed to cover their head, which they should, and women are allowed to wear socks. They are allowed to wear any footgear, anything. It's just the face that women have to be careful about. Apart from that, there's no prohibition for women as far as the clothing and the footgear is concerned. Footwear must not cover the metatarsal, the upper central bone that I showed you, that the bone that is protruding on the top, the center of your foot. That should be left exposed, and the ankles. Perfumed oil or itar can be used on the body and clothing before making the intention, as I have described to you before. Ihram for women. A woman can continue to wear everyday stitched clothing. She can wear a niqab, a face veil, but the cloth should not touch her face. So this is the method. You get something like this from the shops, and the face veil it hangs over it. It covers it from there, and by doing so, you are ensuring that the sheet, the material is not touching the face. She can use a sun hat or drape the niqab over it. Otherwise, use large sunglasses and a large hat to obscure the face when necessary. Clothing of any color, gloves, socks and ordinary shoes are allowed. If is in her menstruation or postnatal bleeding, haid or nifas, she should also take a shower before ihram, but not pray 2 rakat of ihram, because in that state a woman is not allowed to pray. But she should nevertheless take a shower or a bath before setting off on the journey. She is allowed to take pills to delay menstruation, but beware of complications. She should chant the talbiyah in a low voice. A woman should not be men. As soon as you enter your state of ihram, you say the talbiyah loudly. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka, labbaik innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. You should be saying that like a majnoon. And this is something that people, when they go for Hajj and Umrah nowadays, really neglect. It's been neglected by people generally. But that's how it should be. A person in a state of ihram should be the majnoon of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should be saying this loudly. Labbaik Allahumma. That is your chant, that is your dhikr, that is your main dhikr. That you will not find that, you will not be able to, that will not be a form of ibadah for you at any other time in your life. Just in that state of ihram, that's a exclusive, special super special form of ibadah that is for you. So make the most of it. Keep saying it loudly, men. But make sure you don't disturb other people. If you're on the plane, the lights have been turned on, people are trying to sleep, and you say, Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, labbaik. And that's not right. You'll be earning guna instead of earning thawab. For women, they should do the same, but they should keep their voice low, so that their voice is not heard by ghair mahram males. They should keep their voice low, so that their voice is not heard by men who should not be hearing their voice. So after you've made your preparations for your ihram, you perform 2 rakat of sunnah of ihram, and after the salah, you remove your topi, your cap, in the case of men, and then you make your intention and you say the talbiyah. So you, as I said before, brothers, everyone, you say the salam of your 2 rakat salat, and then you now take your topi off and you make the intention. Allahumma inni, if you know it, it's in your booklets, and I will you will see this in the slide. Allahumma inni uridul umrata fayassirha li wa taqabbalha minni. If you say that much, it's not a dua, it's not something from the Quran. If you say it, that's good. If you don't know it in Arabic, say it in your own language, Bangla, Urdu, Pashto, whatever. Just say that, oh Allah, I intend to perform Umrah. Allahumma inni uridul umrata, I desire to perform Umrah. Fayassirha li. Therefore, Allah, make it easy for me. And wa taqabbalha minni, and accept it from me. Qabul from me. Say that in your own language, say it in Arabic if you can. It's in your booklets that have been handed out, and I will also, you'll see it on the screen here in a bit. Say that, and then you will say the talbiyah. The first talbiyah for entering ihram will have some additional words. Okay? Just one additional word, and then later every talbiyah will be the same. In this first talbiyah, you said the salam, you made the verbally expressed your intention of umrah, and then you say the talbiyah for the first time now. You will say labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik bil umrati labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wan ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. So it's just the bil umrati labbaik. Make sure you say that. It's in your booklets. Write it down, take it with you, keep it with you. If you can't remember it, you can look at it and say it. That's your first talbiyah. As you say that talbiyah, when you say labbaik bil umrati labbaik, in your head you should be thinking, this is it. This is the demarcation, this is the borderline of non-ihram and ihram. As I say this, I'm now stepping over the borderline of ihram. I'm now going into the state of ihram, and that's it. You are now a muhrim. You're a muhrim or a muhrima. All the prohibitions, harams of ihram will now apply to you, and I will give you a list of those, some of those things. Men will say the talbiyah. Talbiyah means the labbaik Allahumma labbaik formula. Men will say the talbiyah in a loud voice, audible voice, and make sure you don't disturb other people. And women will always say it quietly. As soon as you make the intention and you say the talbiyah, you have now entered the state of ihram, and all the prohibitions of ihram will now apply. This is the verbal expression in Arabic of your intention. Allahumma inni uridul umrata fayassirha li wa taqabbalha minni. This is your talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wan ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. Here I am, O Allah, here I am. There is no partner for you, here I am. Verily all praise is for you, every bounty is from you, and all dominion is yours, you have no partner. That's basically the meaning of that. You should continue to say the talbiyah until you see the Kaaba for the first time. So throughout your flight, your journey to Jeddah, from Jeddah to Makkah, whilst in your hotel, you keep saying the talbiyah as much as possible. When you see the Kaaba for the first time, your eyes fall on the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's when you stop your talbiyah. Chant your talbiyah, especially in the morning and the evening, while ascending or descending during traveling, joining or meeting other people, and after each salah, you keep saying your talbiyah. The prohibitions of ihram, inshallah, we will look at after salat. We'll stop here and get ready for salat, and then after salat, I'll have to continue with this because we we lost 20-25 minutes at the beginning. So if after you've prayed your sunnah, brothers just stay downstairs, we'll all come up together, and then inshallah we'll continue with this after Maghrib Salah. Sisters will have to move forward to the room in the direction of the Qibla for their Salah.
رسول الله